You don't have to earn your days. I know that we have been living under this system, capitalism, and I know that living under this system and this false, violent, hierarchical structure that is crumbling as we speak, I know that all of that led you to believe that you're living, your breath by breath, your day by day, that all of this was something that you had to earn. But you don't have to earn your days. Your days are already provided for because you are a part of creation, just like every other being on this planet. And you are living through a moment right now where things might feel a little slow for you compared to how you are used to, mm, how busy you are used to being, let's say. You you used to be really fucking busy. You used to do the absolute most all the time, and that was maybe a learned survival strategy in terms of what you had to navigate when you were a child, and also in terms of just everything that we collectively have been led to believe about what it means to deserve to live under that old false reality. And because you were so busy, you were also so disconnected from your body. We have been so disconnected from our bodies under that false reality. And it made it so that we couldn't even really allow ourselves to feel how drained and depleted and burnt out we were. Because if we actually did, if we actually let ourselves feel that collectively, we know what would happen, right? You know what would happen. And you know because you are actually living the answer to that question right now. And a lot of people might say, oh, well, obviously the answer is that if we all felt our bodies, then we would just like burn all of this shit to the ground. And you know what? Yeah, sure. That is a part of it, right? But you know that the other part of it, and perhaps your particular part of it, what you are tasked with in this lifetime, that is more about reaching a point where you have no alternative, no other option but to drastically change your life, drastically change the way that you engage with your living, to start drastically changing that in relationship to and in co-creation with other people who are aligned with the change that you are oriented toward. And you are oriented toward peace. You are oriented toward collaboration and mutuality and reciprocity. You are oriented toward regenerative and sustainable processes. You're oriented toward the kind of inherent strength and intelligence that comes with being a part of a diverse ecosystem. You're oriented toward the earth. You're oriented toward the way that the earth functions. And a part of how the earth functions is that sometimes some shit has to burn. So I'm not saying that that's not a part of it. There are certain things that have to be destroyed, and we are living through such a moment of destruction. And we all play a role within that. You are becoming more and more comfortable with living into what you know is your role. And you know that a large part of your role is to actually believe that another way is possible, to trust yourself in actually taking steps in the direction of what you know is possible, to look around and notice who is alongside you walking in that same direction, and then to start linking up with them so that you can actually co-create some shit together that wouldn't exist otherwise, and that then makes that old false dying crumbling system completely obsolete. That's what you're here for. That's what you are doing. And Spirit says that as you're doing this, you might notice that you are also learning how to honor the way that your body functions rather than attempting to try to fit your body into that old paradigm, that old structure of overdoing and burnout and depletion as the norm, right? And so, because of that, there is this small part of you that might feel like, but wait, am I doing enough? Shouldn't I be doing more? You might feel like, what does it mean that at the end of the day, I realize that I'm not doing as many things in a day as I used to, but I still feel satisfied. I still feel complete and ready to rest. I think what this means, what I'm picking up on, is that it means that you are actually more present and more in your body, moment to moment, now than you were before. And that's a really different way of living. And it actually uses energy in a different way. Like you could do a whole lot of things in a day when you were not really present for any of it, when you were running on autopilot. You could do a lot. But when you're actually present, when you are present for the mundane, the simple, like tending to your life moments, when you're present for relationships, when you're present for whatever it is that you are creating or offering, or whatever labor that you're engaging in, when you're present for big feelings to move through you, whether that's joy and peace, awe, wonder, or grief, whatever the case may be, when you are present for all of that to move through your system and then you come out on the other side of it, all of these moments of presence day to day, that requires a lot of energy, and it also gives you energy. It is regenerative. It is sustainable. That old autopilot, running on fumes, running on E way of living, that not sustainable. That's one-way transaction. That's you being depleted and not being restored in return. So this way of being now, it feels different to you because it is different. And go with me on this. I mean, if you're here, I imagine you're already here. But what I'm hearing is, what if we are all actually right now, collectively, in the process of orienting toward a new reality in which all of us get to live in this regenerative and reciprocal presence? A new reality in which all of us get to feel what it feels like to actually be in our bodies and be present, and none of us are drained or depleted. The earth is not drained or depleted, and we as humans actually get to become a part of the natural order of things on this planet again, instead of us having to pretend that we are here to dominate and decimate the planet and the species with whom we coexist. Like, what if that's what we're moving toward? And what if your reorientation in your own body, in your own life, is a part of that. I saw someone say this on the internet somewhere recently, and I wish I could remember who it was, but I saw someone say, what if we as humans are actually meant to be a keystone species on this planet, and we are actually in the process of remembering that right now? And I feel and sense and know so deeply, intuitively, that we are. And if you are here and if this is resonating with you, I think that you know it too. And if this is all true, which I feel in every cell of my body that it is, and I know that you do too, because I don't think you'd be here otherwise. If all of this is true, it actually means that we have to remember what it is like to live in ease. And ease does not mean that there is no work to be done. Living in ease doesn't mean that there is no labor to be fulfilled. Sometimes ease gets conflated with lack of responsibility or accountability, and that's not actually what ease means. Spirit says living in ease means that we're living in accordance with our natural rhythms, that we're living in accordance with how those natural rhythms exist in harmony with the rhythms of those around us and the rhythms of the land. That is what it means to live in ease. And you are living your way into a more easeful life because you can actually feel your body from the inside out now. Because you can actually feel and remember your own rhythm now. And you are beginning to align your life more and more with that rhythm. This is my brain goes all over the place sometimes, forgive me. So this is a little bit of an aside, I think, but hopefully hopefully it'll connect back around. But I just thought of, I'm sure you see these posts sometimes on the internet where people post, I sound so old when I say on the internet. I sound like such an elder millennial. I am. People will post their pets or their young children, and they'll post like a photo of them sleeping, and they'll say something like, oh, he's sleeping like he pays rent around here. Or, like, wow, they must be so tired from a day of not engaging in wage labor, like that kind of thing. That always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Does it rub you the wrong way? Does it feel a little strange to you? Like, you have an animal that you agree to house and feed and care for, and then you see that animal doing what it does in accordance with its natural rhythms, which means sleeping when it wants to sleep, and you somehow feel like that rest is not earned. Your baby, your child, like they've not earned that rest. Like you are so dissatisfied with that old status quo that tells you that you have to earn rest, that you look at this innocent, beautiful being, this vulnerable little baby, and say like, wow, you sleeping like you own the place. Like, wow, we do this. We do this to each other. We do this to ourselves without even realizing it. We normalize this. We say these things that reinforce this lie that we are meant to earn our days and to earn our ability to sleep. Sleep is not something you have to earn. Rest is a natural part of the natural rhythm of every organism on this planet. And you are not more worthy of rest on a day when you've completed a lot of tasks than you are on a day when you haven't. And you're beginning to recognize this in your body, right? You're beginning to feel your inherent worthiness of living in accordance with your rhythm and really honoring how rest is a part of that. And everyone's rhythm is different, right? Your own rhythms will be different in different seasons of your life. And you also are starting to feel what your baseline is, what feels most natural to you most of the time. And you're living your way into that reality because you're choosing to reject that old false reality that told all of us the lie that we are not actually worthy of the breath that we draw in and out of our bodies. That we're not actually worthy of the beating of our own hearts, of being alive, if we're not performing a certain amount of wage labor. And that construct of what it means to be a human being and to have a life, it is a blip in the history of our species. It is a blink of the eye when it comes to the history of who we as humans have been. They will try to make you believe that this was always the way we were supposed to live, that this is the pinnacle of human civilization, that this was always the inevitable conclusion. But you know that this is a lie. We feel in our bodies that it's a lie. And that's why we have to dissociate. That's why we've had to numb. That's why we've had to find every way possible to not be in our bodies so that we wouldn't have to feel the truth that we know is real, which is that all that shit is made up. None of it makes sense. It doesn't work for any of us. And we are capable of living otherwise. You are a person who is here to live otherwise in so many ways. You know this. You're here to live otherwise. You're here to live in opposition to that dying status quo in every way that is possible and available for you. That's how you're here to live. That's what you're orienting toward. That's what you're moving toward right now. And that might be why you feel a little bit the way it's coming to me is out of time, but not out of time as in you're running out of time like you're a little bit like outside of time. A little bit outside of the normative and dominant constructs of time as they've been created in order to maximize profit for people who are at the top of that crumbling structure. The ways in which time was constructed to, on an energetic level, to keep you always feeling like you had to catch up, to keep you always feeling like you were behind and like you had to do more, like you hadn't done enough. You are starting to recognize your capacity to actually work with time differently in a way that allows you to start bending and stretching and playing with time. And if this resonates for you, you'll know that this feels like having the experience of being so present, so fully present in a moment, and so fully engaged in whatever you're engaged in that you have no idea how much time has passed. It might feel sometimes like it'll feel like 3 hours have passed and you look up and it's only been 30 minutes. Or on the flip side, it feels like only 30 minutes have passed and it's actually been 3 hours. Maybe you're starting to notice this. Are you starting to feel yourself existing a little bit outside of that construct of time? How that maps onto that old reality? Start noticing how time feels when you are moving through your day with a sense of attunement to your internal rhythm and the ease that is at the foundation of that natural internal rhythm. Notice how time feels when you are fully engaged in a task or an activity. Notice how time feels when you are with people that you love, right? Notice how time feels when you are communing with the land and the water and the mountains and the sky. Notice how in all of these instances, time will move a little differently and perhaps in some unexpected ways. This, to me, is a sign of how our collective reality is shifting, and your life is a part of that. You are a part of that. Your commitment to existing otherwise and then linking up with other folks who are also existing otherwise and who are oriented toward embodying and expressing and making tangible this new reality. All of that is a part of our collective shift, and you are doing that right now. Even in your ability to be here and be present with a message like this. I know there are a lot of folks who are creating videos, podcasting, sharing essays and channeled readings and tarot spreads and lots of things. And kind of creating it in such a way that's designed for shortened attention spans. And there's nothing wrong with short form content. Short form content can be really great. I really enjoy a lot of it, and I'm sure you do too. And there is a particular quality of presence that is required to really be with a message like this as it comes through. That's not designed to hook you. That's not designed to grab your attention and keep your attention no matter what, right? This is the kind of message that's not structured for a short attention span that expects that you're going to scroll away at any moment now. This comes through the way it moves through me. It's really for presence. It's for depth of engagement. And your being here, it signals something about how your relationship to time and presence and rhythm is actually leading you to these kinds of messages. Your algorithm is reflecting your internal shift back to you, right? Spirit says this might be specifically for someone listening to this. Spirit says when someone asks you how your day was, you don't have to respond by listing off all the things that you did that day. Maybe that's something that you have gotten into the habit of doing, and Spirit says you don't have to respond that way. Spirit says the quality of your day is not actually measured by what you accomplish. And of course, that doesn't mean that you can't feel proud of yourself for doing things. I think it's good to feel a sense of pride and accomplishment when you've done something, completed something, created something, when you have tried something, when you've invested time in something that matters to you, a relationship, skill building or teaching, caretaking, whatever the things are that you do in a day, you can feel pride and accomplishment in doing those things. And those things are also not the measure of your day. Those things are not how you determine the quality of your day. They are not how you know how your day was. They're not how you make your day a day. They're not how you earn your day, right? Because you have nothing to earn here. So, as an alternative, Spirit says practice at the end of a day, going over it from the perspective of how did I experience presence and embodiment today? Where and when was I most present? Where and when did I feel like I was most in my body? And what did I notice about how my experience of time functioned when I was very present versus when I was not? How did I experience time when I was really in my body and feeling my internal rhythms from the inside out versus when I was not, right? Can you, okay, okay, I love this. I love that this has come through. Thank you, Spirit. So I said earlier I am an elder millennial, but I am also an elder millennial recovering theater kid. And so because of that, you know, if you were around when I was around, you remember the phenomenon that was the musical Rent. And there was a very popular song from that show, and the song is called Seasons of Love, and Spirit just gave me that song. That song always used to make me cry because it actually poses this question of like, how are we meant to make sense of time? How are we meant to measure time? How do we measure the minutes of our lives? You know? And so in the song, Seasons of Love, they ask you, how do you measure a year? And they offer all these options, right? In daylights, in sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter and strife, in 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year in the life? And then the chorus, of course, proposes love. How about love? Can we measure our lives in love? And, for me, love really lives in presence. Love really lives in attention and attunement and focus. It requires a slowing down to be with your own rhythm and with the rhythm of another, and then notice how those rhythms dance together. So Spirit is saying, if you go back over your day from the perspective of how you're measuring time and how you're making meaning of your experience, instead of saying, what did I accomplish? What did I get done? Can you measure your day in love? How would you measure your day in love? How would you measure your day at the end of the day in attunement and presence and embodiment? In the ease that comes with actually embodying and expressing your rhythm. And if at the end of your days you recognize that you felt that, even if it was just for a moment of your day, that moment is your day. That's your day. Everything else is just stuff that happened, stuff that you did, but that is your day. And with practice, you can actually allow those moments to expand more and more. And you are starting to feel what that feels like. For those moments to start stretching out across time, across your day, across your weeks. And and they actually become more of your norm than not. And the last thing I'll say, because I know this is getting a little long, the last thing I'll say is that the way that we are describing time as a measure in love, in presence, and embodiment, this is a return to time as we experienced it in our bodies as humans, in relation to other bodies and to the body that is this planet before the violent imposition of that crumbling construct that would try to force you to measure time based on your productivity. So I hope that that made sense. Measuring your days in love and presence and attunement to rhythm is a return to how we were always meant to experience time. And so Spirit says, remember that you don't have to earn your days and that you can instead, gosh, I'm getting so tripped up over my words because there's just like so much energy moving through me right now. That you can instead experience your days as a measure of love. Whew, wow. I'm really grateful for how that message came through. I hope it resonates. I hope it feels useful for you. I thank you so much for your presence here, and I'll be back soon. I love you, and we'll talk soon.